Welcome to Intuitive Astrology with Molly McCord. Thank you so much for joining me today as we are going to discuss the energies of Mercury retrograde in Libra and Virgo, as this will begin on September 9th at 9 degrees of Libra, and then Mercury will travel back to 24 degrees of Virgo until October 1st or 2nd, depending on your time zone. So we're going to discuss some of the themes and energies that will be coming up during this particular Mercury retrograde, as well as the interactions Mercury is going to have with both Jupiter in Aries and Pluto in Capricorn. Mercury retrograde happens 3 to 4 times a year. Mercury is the fastest moving planet and is always traveling within easy reach of the sun, so to speak, meaning Mercury never goes too far away from the sun. And so it's almost like these Mercury retrogrades are a leash retracting Mercury back into the orbit of the sun, bringing Mercury back to where the sun is. And this is also where we experience Mercury conjunct the sun, as Mercury is retracted back, interacts with the sun, receives fresh energy, fresh light, fresh insight from the sun's solar power, and this energizes Mercury as well, brings in new information, new light codes, new downloads, new neutrinos, new energies coming in to that Mercury consciousness that we then feel and sense. So I've always felt that Mercury retrograde is a gift. It connects with how we're able to be more conscious with ourselves, more intentional, more aware of our own Mercury energy, more aware of what we're thinking, what we're focusing on, where our minds are going, what we're speaking and what we're saying. And when you think about how active our minds are these days and all the stimuli we're surrounded by, it's actually a gift to have this perceived slowdown. Now, keep in mind, a planet never really goes retrograde. It never really moves in reverse. It's just our perception from here on Earth. So we have the perception that Mercury is in retrograde, and this supports our human experience. I believe this energetically supports our human energy systems by ensuring we're not overloaded mentally and that we're being more intentional and conscious of what is going on in our everyday world. Mercury is associated with not only how we think and speak, as I just mentioned, but also what we do every day, the tasks we need to accomplish, the errands, the chores, the short-term travel. Mercury is often about your immediate environment, how you go about approaching and perceiving what's happening in your immediate world. So when Mercury is in retrograde, we then can see what is not working, what's out of order, what's not necessary, what's no longer needed. We have time to intentionally reevaluate, reconsider, and reprioritize what is important and where to direct our mental energy. Now, Mercury is also about what we need to express and also checking in with the health of your throat chakra. Is it feeling strong, shiny, and clear? Are there thoughts, feelings, or energies you've repressed, held back, or haven't felt that you could express or put out there? Mercury allows us to check in with how we are communicating our truth and our needs, how we are gaining clarity in our thought process. It's also how we take in new information, whether we're learning something or just assimilating new ideas and new thoughts. So Mercury is very active in our daily lives, and this is always a time to check in with yourself and to look at how this energy is working with you, working for you, and where perhaps it's time to make some new choices or be more aware of your own patterns. Now, Mercury begins the retrograde in Libra. And you might recall that in 2021, we also had a Mercury retrograde in Libra, but it was different degree points. So in 2021, we had Mercury retrograde in Libra between 10 degrees and 25 degrees. So that part of your chart experienced Mercury retrograde in Libra. But this year, in 2022, Mercury retrograde is actually happening at 9 degrees of Libra. So there's not even an overlap between last year's Mercury retrograde in Libra and this year's. It's beginning at 9 degrees of Libra, traveling back to 24 degrees of Virgo in your chart. So this would be the area to identify, especially by house placement, as the house is the area of life where the retrograde energy is being reworked, reconsidered, redone. This is also where it's advantageous to slow down, to be more intentional with this part of your life, to be more aware of the details and the particulars, especially when Mercury re-enters Virgo, which we will talk about a bit more. But you want to identify where you have 24 degrees of Virgo to 9 degrees of Libra. And the house is the area of life where Mercury is helping you do some renovating, slow down, check in, make sure that you're not missing anything, and also allow this part of your chart to change. It will change during Mercury retrograde, and that's typically when we have things that are canceled or fall through. This is where plans change, things shift. There's more to check over again, where perhaps you have to review something that you thought was done and then it comes back around. Mercury retrograde is, of course, a time when we're just more aware of where there can be errors or problems or delays of some sort. And when we understand that that's just part of the cosmic process, that we can work with it, we can find a way to welcome the changes and to allow them to unfold, that alleviates some of that mental pressure or expectations that we might have. So Mercury retrograde will certainly jolt our expectations and ask us to just verify dates, verify data, verify numbers, make sure that you're clear on what is being communicated and what is being said. This is where it's also beneficial to repeat yourself. State something twice or 3 times to make sure someone really hears you, it really lands, they really get the information. And then conversely, don't be afraid to ask for verification on your side as well, just to confirm anything that's important, anything that's going on. We want to make sure during Mercury retrograde that we slow down and we're more intentional with our communication, and that we are giving each other grace, room, and space for changes that are necessary. So this particular Mercury retrograde begins in Libra, and Libra is the sign of sharing, partnerships, people you work with one-on-one, communications, having good conversations with others. It's about socializing and interactions. It's where we start to share what we're thinking and what's going on in our own personal worlds. So Mercury in Libra tends to be social, tends to want to connect, hang out, meet up. And this retrograde means that there will be plans that change. There will be dates that shift. There will be things that don't happen because people are busy or they have different priorities. But at a personal level, Mercury retrograde in Libra is helping you to evaluate the relationships, connections, and people in your life that you do feel have strong connection points, that there is mutual support. There is a sense of equal giving and receiving. And that is a priority to Libra, where we want things to be in balance. Balance is a key word with Libra. But at a practical level, we're going to have some conversations or revisit various topics or parts of our life to look at where relationships are working and where they can be improved, where we might need to have some conversations with others to verify things, to get on the same page, to make sure that what you're saying is being understood and vice versa. So this is a big focus on our communications with each other. And that's something that's coming up at this time so that we can be clear around who gets us, who is worth our energy, and how we spend our time. And of course, the same is true for you, where others will be determining the value of a relationship and how often you talk or connect, and if there is mutual sharing going on. So during this Mercury retrograde in Libra phase, there could be some things that come up that you have to revisit with certain people in your life. Keep in mind that Libra is about one-on-one connections, and this is not only partners, this is clients, this is siblings, these would be colleagues, people you interact with. There could be things coming up where we're needing to find new solutions, new ways of approaching a topic or a joint endeavor. This is where you could be renegotiating something. And negotiation is a strong Libra word. Libra wants fair developments, wants win-win situations. Libra wants peace. Libra wants everyone to get something from the event, the conversation, the whatever it is. Libra is seeking mutual energy exchanges. And those could be parts of your life that you're looking at more intentionally. And maybe you're realizing where something is out of balance, or there isn't a win-win here, or we have different needs and we're not really on the same page. Now, when Mercury is retrograde in Libra, there's going to be 3 oppositions to Jupiter in Aries. And Jupiter in Aries is the part of your energy and the part of your experience where you're really getting clear on who you are, what you need, what you want. Aries is about self, Libra is about others. And so here we have the energy of the relationship axis, where it's your relationship with yourself and how you take that energy into relationships with others. So this strong Jupiter in Aries is amplifying what you need, revealing what really matters to you. And because Jupiter has been traveling behind Chiron in Aries, I feel like we've been filling in some places that previously were difficult, traumatic. We've been through some big healing in these parts of our lives. And now Jupiter in Aries is bringing in that new energy to remind you who you are, to give you a sense of independence, to stand on your own, to tap into what matters to you and how to fully own it and feel good about it. So Jupiter in Aries is reconnecting ourselves with our own healing path, as that previous journey of Chiron in Aries through this part of your chart revealed things that needed your attention, that previously felt vulnerable, insecure. It's almost like Jupiter in Aries is now bringing in new surges of confidence, courage. Yes, I want this. Yes, this is me. Jupiter in Aries is very yes around what is best for your energy and who you are right now. So this helps us understand our own needs. So when we have Mercury in Libra opposing this Jupiter, which happens 3 times, it happens September 3rd at 6 degrees, September 19th at 4 degrees, and October 12th at 1 degree. And those degrees are about where each planet is. So they're opposing each other at that same degree point. 6 degrees, 4 degrees, 1 degree. This means that for what you're understanding around Mercury in Libra themes, meaning this is how we ask questions, we get to know someone, we understand more of their world, what they're thinking, what they're about, because that Libra energy wants to share, wants to understand, wants to know what's happening in another person's experience. The Jupiter in Aries is reminding you to not let go or diminish your needs. Don't give away what you need for the sake of a relationship. Be aware of any unconscious people-pleasing energies. This is also where the lower expressions of Libra can be about being so invested in a relationship that you lose sight of yourself. But Jupiter in Aries is saying, remember who you are, where you've moved through some big parts of your self-identity, where you've been able to do more on your own or become more independent. And don't give up these new parts of yourself for the sake of a connection, partnership, relationship. So this opposition between Mercury and Libra and Jupiter and Aries is reminding you to travel with all of your energy in relationships, to not abandon yourself, to not give up what you need or hold back what's important to you, because the right relationships, the correct relationships, have plenty of room for all of who you are. So there's this checking in point here that the universe is bringing our attention to around relationship dynamics. What we give, what we receive, is it mutual? Is it working? Is it healthy? How does it feel for you? And to make sure that you're honoring who you are, and again, not overdoing it, over giving it, or over providing for the sake of someone else. And it's sort of like, when you're in a relationship, whether it's just dating or in a long-term relationship, you don't want to lose sight of who you are. And you still need time to do your own thing. You need time maybe to have a day to yourself or an evening to yourself, or to do a hobby or passion or something that brings you new life, that's truly who you are. And it's not about anybody else. And there needs to be that place in our relationships where we can take care of ourselves, essentially feed our own energy, feed our own soul, and not feel like that threatens or hurts the relationship. So there's going to be some changes here in relationship dynamics potentially if anything has been out of balance. If you felt like you haven't had the room or space you need to do your own thing, you might have some conversations come up where you need to express what you need to someone and state it in a way that's about your own personal ownership, not about them, not about anything they're doing, but more about, this is what I need to feel more alive, or this is what I need to add on to my calendar or make time for that really fuels my soul. And I'm going to need space and room for that. So that's part of this push-pull here when Mercury is in Libra, opposing Jupiter in Aries, is that we're reasserting our needs in relationships. We're gaining clarity on what that looks like, how that feels, how that honors us, and also how it would honor the other person, how it honors them to be themselves or to follow something or spend time doing something that is really important to them. So there can certainly be some adjustments that are made in relationships that are out of balance, especially as you've come to understand more of what you need, more of what is essential to you, and maybe any part of your life where you didn't think there was room to be all of you. And of course, this is unique to each of us, and it's different depending on your current life circumstances. It's different if you're single versus if you're married versus if you have kids versus if you have roommates. There's all different forms of this energy that show up. But basically, what we're getting to the heart of is being able to communicate what you need to other people in a way that feels empowering and strong, that also has objectivity to it and gets across what matters to you, and allows you to hear what is important to someone else. So I feel like we're going to be making some adjustments here in our interpersonal dynamics, and we're learning how to communicate it in a responsible, mature manner. We're learning how to state what we need to other people, activating that throat chakra, feeling very strong, confident, and clear in what is important to you. Keep in mind, this could be something that you communicate at the workplace or with an employee or with a colleague or someone else in your world. It might not be something that shows up in your personal life, but it could be something that comes up in any area of your life, and you're realizing, okay, this is where I need to communicate what is important to me and do so in a way where I'm understanding how the other person receives it. So we're going to have practice at this. We're going to have ways of getting clearer in what we're saying and how we say it. And I feel like this Mercury retrograde is also going to put us in positions to remain detached from what other people are expressing or needing as well. So someone could come to you and they're sharing what they're thinking about the current relationship or dynamic, and they need something to change. And maybe you need time to think about that or to reevaluate that. So with every Mercury retrograde, give yourself time, give the other person time, allow people their space to digest and process and decide things, and then have the next conversation or the follow-up conversation. And that's actually a good way to approach Mercury retrograde, is to allow for follow-up conversations or part 2, or let's touch base on this again in a few weeks. Give things space to marinate and not feel like you have to force it. And that could lead to even better outcomes, solutions, dialogues, all kinds of things. So part of that Mercury retrograde theme, as we know, is to slow down. And that is also about slowing down the timeline of conversations where maybe you don't get a response immediately. You don't know what they want right away, but you have to check in or, circle back in a week or so. And that's part of the Mercury retrograde dance. So Mercury stations retrograde at 9 degrees of Libra on September 9th and travels back into Virgo on September 23rd. Mercury re-enters Virgo, goes to 24 degrees of Virgo until October 2nd, stations direct, and then goes forward and re-enters Libra again October 11th. So we're going to have Mercury in Virgo September 23rd until October 11th, a good 2 weeks or so. And when Mercury re-enters Virgo, that's where the energy narrows down and becomes more particular, more meticulous, more detail-oriented. Mercury in Virgo is an analyst. He's very much aware of what's happening and how. And he's looking for the hows. The how is a Virgo keyword. And there's an understanding here of how is this all working? How is this coming about? And let's look at the mechanics of it. What are the particulars here that are important? When Mercury goes back into Virgo, there will be 2 more trines to Pluto retrograde in Capricorn. So Mercury in Virgo trined Pluto retrograde in Capricorn August 22nd, and then we'll make a trine again September 27th and October 7th and 8th. So Mercury trining Pluto in Capricorn at 26 degrees brings in mental clarity, a solution, an understanding, a new way of approaching an old problem, a new way of seeing an old problem. Something shifts powerfully from that supportive trine with Pluto. Pluto is about transformation, empowerment, desire, what you want. Also, what's designed to go for the long term in Capricorn. So Mercury going into Virgo is an energy that Mercury rules. Mercury is at home in Virgo. Virgo is co-ruled by both Mercury and Chiron. Chiron being connected to the physical body, healing parts of our energy, healing and understanding the gifts of what we've experienced and how to practically apply them in our lives. So Mercury in Virgo is at home, does well, and then receives a jolt of truth and power from Pluto in Capricorn. This feels great. This feels like if you missed something previously, Mercury is going back into Virgo to help you catch it, to help you see it, to help you understand it, and to get to more of what is happening and how it's working. It's almost like if you missed something important, whatever it might be in your world, this return into Virgo is going to give you that understanding or that answer, especially through the trine to Pluto. And because this Mercury will go back to 24 degrees and is moving so slowly in Virgo, I feel like really let's call it the last 5 days of September and the first 10 days of October, Mercury is trining Pluto that whole time, simply because it's only a 2 or 3 degree orb. So basically, Mercury in Virgo is making a long-term trine to Pluto retrograde in Capricorn at 26 degrees. This is bringing in information you're meant to know. There's something you're meant to understand. Pluto says, hey, this is important. This is truth. This is meant to shift your perception. So that Mercury in Virgo can be overly focused on the details and is all about crossing the T's, dotting the I's, getting the duckies in a row, organizing everything, organizing and filing all the information. So Mercury in Virgo is very much about what's right in front of you, what's happening in the here and now. But the trine from Pluto says, hey, look up. Look at the bigger picture. Take a higher perspective on all of this. There's more for you to understand, and that's when something clicks. That's when there are energies here showing you more of, again, what you missed before, what you didn't see, what you didn't catch. But the universe is like, no, it's important you understand this. It's important you get into what is happening here and then use it in a realistic, tangible form. And that's because of the energies in the earth signs that are about what we experience in our everyday reality and in our physical world. So there's going to be changes here. Wherever Mercury in Virgo is in your chart, that's where changes are happening through that trine from Pluto. There's something you're going to do differently. There's something that's going to be elevated or shifting. There's a new routine, a new habit, a new pattern, something that's being adjusted during the last 5 days of September and the first 10 days of October. So we're doing some reworking here, moving the furniture around, shifting things up, changing it up, so that it energetically matches what you need now, and also so there's room for what Pluto is delivering or bringing in. This is the energy of renovation, transformation, making big decisions. I think there's going to be some very clear decisions people are going to be making about their life, their daily world, their work, what they're doing on a daily basis. Also, Virgo taps us into our skill sets, what we're good at, what we want to be good at, what we want to improve. It's connected to your healing, to your health, your physical body, your daily energy, your self-care. We're going to be making some changes in our lifestyles during this Mercury retrograde in Virgo, trining Pluto in Capricorn. There's going to be things you're like, yeah, that doesn't work anymore. I don't even want that. That doesn't fit me. And then here comes Pluto giving you a new opportunity, a new advancement, a new path or idea to follow that can last for long term. And that's what Capricorn is about. Capricorn is about what we build and develop for long-term gain or accomplishment. This is where you could make new choices in your daily job, or decide you need a new position that is all about your new skill set or where you want to go in the future. This is where you could have some clarity on where you want to be more healthy, where you want to make some new decisions around your lifestyle, around nutrition, around what your body needs. You could also feel ready to take care of yourself in a new way. This energy, it's interesting because it kind of feels like, do you remember what your New Year's resolutions were? And how's that going for you? How is it going at the gym? How are those eating habits? And you could have a burst of inspiration where, yeah, I want to get back on that workout routine that I dropped. Or I want to try this new way of eating that would be better for my energy. So there's something transformative here around this particular Mercury retrograde when it goes back into Virgo, and we really have a newer understanding of what our energy needs, how to support our energy, and how to make that a priority. So it's interesting as we look at the energy shift where Mercury in Libra opposing Jupiter in Aries is about the relationship axis, the relationship dynamics between your energy and other people's energies. Then as Mercury goes back into Virgo, it's looking at how to take care of yourself, how to prioritize what you need, how to look at it in a new way, make those changes and upgrades as needed. Then when Mercury re-enters Libra, it feels like there's another shift in relationship dynamics, or just understanding more of what you want to take into relationships that, again, maybe you surrendered before, maybe you held back, or you thought, no, this person isn't going to like that about me, or I don't know if I want to do that. There could have been this wobble. And the wobble could have been from a place of not knowing if it was okay to be all of yourself. And I feel like this Mercury retrograde is helping us reprogram that, realign that, and to look at how one of the best gifts you can give yourself as well as other people and the world is your authentic self, who you really are. And from a place of self-love, self-compassion, from a place of being in healthy balance within yourself. So it's a very interesting dynamic here where we're going to feel the energy shift, and we're going to feel how we're making some new priorities that maybe we just weren't ready for before. It's sort of like, okay, now's the time to understand truly what it means to take care of your energy in the best possible way, even if it's the small little things that nobody else knows about, right? Like you've decided you're going to just start drinking more water, or you're cutting back on your sugar, or you're trying a new routine at the gym. I mean, it can be things that only you know about, and that is part of the Virgo energy signature. But I feel like the connection goes back into Libra, where then you're aware that the relationships that are meant for me, the people who are meant to be in my life, will accept these changes and know that I'm doing it because it's best for me. And it reminds me of how healthy relationships are with people who want the best for you. And it's not about them, right? They're not invested so much in everything about you. It's sort of like having that level of detachment where you can say, I want the best for you, whatever that looks like, whatever that feels like, whatever that is in your world or in your own self-definition. And this is where we're going to have new insight into the relationships, partnerships, and connections that we bring in closer, and the ones that we maybe detach from or step away from because we just have very different needs, different approaches, and different energies now. So there will be relationship shifting here. There will be things that are adjusted in our connections with colleagues, siblings, friendships, all the different kinds of relationships we have in our lives. But there's something here where it's because you're gaining clarity on what your energy is about right now, what it needs, and how it can be supported. Because the best relationships support us, support who we are in the world, support what we're going through, what we're feeling, what is happening in our own personal world. And sometimes we can forget to ask for support or look for that support. So there could be some things that come up as well where you're realizing, yeah, I need more support. I need more people in my corner. I need a good coach. I need a therapist. I need a really good healer. I need someone that can support what I'm moving through, the transformation I'm going through. And I think that's also going to be a part of this Mercury retrograde in Libra, where we look at what parts of our own energy we want to share, we want to open up to others. And if there is support there, mutual support, for, what you're going through as well as what they're going through. And you can think about how, well, we all need good friendships. And it doesn't mean you have to have good friendships with hundreds and hundreds of people. If you have one or two quality friendships in your world, that is a win. And then there could be parts of your life, let's say professionally, in your career that you need support. You need to talk to a mentor or another person who's been what you've been through or who knows what it's about so that you can share. You can feel like you're supported. You can feel like there's others who get it. And that can certainly increase our quality of life, as well as feeling connected, feeling like we belong, feeling like there's others who understand what we're going through. So I think that we're going to have some realizations here around what we need that supports our energy and who to call in or who to connect with, who gets it, who's on the same wavelength, and where also you can be the same for them. Because it's always about the mutual sharing, especially in Libra, and that would be the healthy dynamic. So on that note, you could realize where you're overgiving. You're doing everything. The other person doesn't text you back. They don't acknowledge you. They don't give. They don't show up, right? You could see where some things aren't working. It doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel mutual. It feels lopsided and one-sided. So this is where you're going to be able to see things more for what they are. And that would be one way to look at Mercury in Virgo and Mercury in Libra. These are energies of detachment, observing, taking things at face value, understanding this is what is. So there's a very practical, objective energy here that we are being invited to work with. We are being asked to open up to look at these parts of our lives objectively and to understand that we have choices. So what is the best choice for you, for your needs, for your energy? And as I mentioned, the Jupiter in Aries is about owning that, feeling good about what you need. And understanding that that's what matters, meaning when you understand what you need and the types of connections and relationships that work for you, then that's what you're going to co-create, because every relationship is a co-creation. And there's different energy signatures that go into that. And of course, there's also different phases of every relationship. So it's being able to look at what's working, what's not working, what needs to change and transform, what is healthy, what is in balance, and what is not. So as I mentioned, Mercury will station direct October 1st and 2nd, depending on your time zone, at 24 degrees of Virgo, then re-enter Libra on October 11th and move through all of Libra until October 30th. So we're going to have some changes and shifts in relationship dynamics, understanding our needs, making new choices, new decisions, seeing things differently, perhaps even seeing things in such a way that it really shifts what you need at a very deep level of your being. Oh, and I forgot to mention that Mercury retrograde will be conjunct the sun at 0 and 1 degrees of Libra. And that will happen on September 23rd, depending on your time zone, and September 24th. And so when Mercury retrograde is conjunct the sun, there is a huge burst of energy from the sun onto Mercury. And in retrograde, it's more for us to integrate, to reconsider, to sit with. We get new insights, new awareness. And the 0 degree point of Libra is important. The 0 degree point of the cardinal signs is connected to the Aries point. And that 0 degrees of the cardinal signs, which is Aries, Cancer, Libra, Capricorn, is always a powerful new beginning as it initiates a new season here in the tropical Western astrology world. And there is something that comes to our conscious awareness about relationships that we're meant to sit with and understand. Perhaps you're going to see something about your relationship dynamics or patterns, things you didn't realize you were saying or expressing, things about your relationships, like if they've all had a similar theme or a similar pattern. Well, what's the common denominator? You. Right? All of your relationships, the common denominator is you. So there's something here about understanding ourselves, how we're showing up in relationships, what we're doing or not doing, how we are honoring ourselves, honoring others, how we communicate, so many big things. And it's going to be a very powerful energy because it's happening as the sun enters Libra as well. So we'll be talking about this energy on my Wednesday podcast episodes. Those are the episodes where we talk about the weekly energies. So we will, of course, be discussing Mercury retrograde as we go. But I wanted to do this show for you to highlight the themes, how things are moving and shifting, what to expect, as well as what to look for in your own chart. And of course, you can see all the astrology of September if you want to sign up for my September monthly soul growth astrology program that talks about all the transiting energies in September, including the Pisces full moon, the Libra new moon, and all of the energies of the month. And if you use coupon code Libra, you get it for $11. So I'll put that link below this podcast for you to check out. As always, thank you so much for joining me for this podcast. I'll be back every Monday and Wednesday for a new episode. You can find out more about my current astrology classes and programs over at mollymccord.online. And I'm also on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. And please be sure to check out my YouTube playlists where I have many, many videos for you that help you understand more in your astrology chart as well. As always, delightful to connect with you. Thank you for joining me here. I look forward to connecting with you again soon. And I'm wishing you a beautiful Mercury retrograde energy here in September and October.